Hello, this is Lolly. Welcome back to my channel. I recently had the opportunity to go to Staples, the office supply store. And if you've been there before, at this time of back to school supplies is the time you want to get your composition books. It's just a great notebook for crafters and note takers, journal makers. The pages are a bit thin for artwork, so I know some people will glue two sheets together to make it thicker. I just use them for writing. My favorite of all is to get the graph lined ones. However, I just wanted to let you know that at back to school time, these are always 50 cents a piece for the first 30 that you buy, and that's an excellent price. These are a little more. I think they were $1.50 to $2. But I have never been a fan of this cover. It just drives me nuts. I don't like it. And so what I want to do is make basically a slip cover that this can go in, and I keep the slip cover and just exchange my composition books as they're used. So I have done one before. I'm not sure if I actually did a video on it or not, but where I actually made like a large traveler's notebook and found the center here right there and put this in the elastic of the large TN. But I want to do something different this time. And so first thing I'm going to do is measure this, and it is 9 3/4. And then to measure this way, I'm going to use a flexible fabric one, and so that is 15 3/8. Okay, 15 3/8. So that is how big the Kraft-Tex I'm going to use would have to go around here. But because I'm going to actually sew on it, I'm going to add a 1/2 inch in height and a 1/2 inch in width. So plus a 1/2 inch, that is going to make that 10 1/4. And we're adding a 1/2 inch to this, which is the same thing as 4/8. So now we're going to end up with 15 7/8. There we go. So that's how big of a piece of Kraft-Tex I'm going to cut, is 10 1/4 by 15 7/8. And then I'm going to make pockets so that this can slide into the pockets. Also, while I was at Staples, I saw these little mini ones and fell in love with them. I love them. Now these have a vinyl cover, which means, for this one, I could just paint over it. Oh, come on. This one is vinyl, so you would have to use something, as a foundation on that if you just wanted to paint over it. But I can use these as well by making covers like I was going to do with this. So let's measure this one. Oops, this one is 7 inches. Okay, so the journal is 7 by 10 1/4. And if I add a 1/2 inch, I need a 7 1/2 by, let's add a 1/2 inch here, 10 3/4. So this is the size I need for the little journal and for the big journal or composition book. So again, I really wasn't thrilled with the colors of these so much, and I just want to decorate them. You could always do adhesive vinyl on here. You could use a Sharpie marker, and if you can't draw, I've noticed that all you have to do is put something, use this. You could put something under here, and you can almost see it like an image that you want to color or draw. You could put an image under there with dark black lines, and you can see it and trace that with a Sharpie marker. That's another way to decorate these. So put that aside, and let's work on the large composition book. I won't actually be making this little one on video, but I just gave you the measurements for that. It'll be the same as doing this one. So let's cut out that Kraft-Tex. Okay, so I have that cut out. This is what it looks like because I have the white, and while I was cutting, I cut 2 pockets that are the same height, 10 1/4, but they're 3 1/2 inches wide each. Now I just did a video showing this napkin haul that I got, and I love this napkin, but what I'm seeing, if I center this like this, then I'm going to get the rooster way down at the bottom and maybe one at the top, but I kind of like the idea of the rooster right about there, so I don't know yet what I'm thinking. I might, if I center it, I can see right here what it's going to look like. You can just fold it over and get an idea. Am I okay with that? That looks pretty cute too. If I do something like this where I put it at the bottom, then you'll see the yellow strip here, but not at the top. And I can fold it over and see what that looks like. And that looks really cute too. I kind of like that as well. But one thing I notice is that this napkin is just shy of meeting the ends on both sides. So what I think I'll do is I'll paint this little strip on both ends in some yellow paint, hoping that I can sort of match the color at least pretty close, or I could just go with a blue, but then this would kind of show through. So I could also adhere this and then paint the strip, but I don't want to cut this off because then my cover won't be long enough. I will press this before I use it, so let me look at my paint supply. I have this color, which isn't perfect. It's a little more orangey than this, but I think it's going to be good enough. So I'm going to lay this down and paint just those two edges here and here. And this is, what color is this? School bus yellow. Okay, I'm going to blow that dry and give it a second coat. Now, Kraft-Tex is very absorbent, so it does soak in, the paint soaks in very quickly. And you'll notice that I'm going to have a little bit of paint on the other side here, which will be covered up by the pocket. Okay, now I'm going to let this really thoroughly dry before I Mod Podge the napkin onto it. Okay, I pressed my napkin, but I have changed my mind about the Mod Podge because when that's wet, I think I'm going to have a hard time lining this up with the bottom of the journal. So I decided to use the cling wrap method. Take me a minute to get this straight. So I will take this to the ironing board. And I will lay parchment paper on the ironing board or some non-stick surface. I will get this all straightened out, get it all flat, as you can imagine. Then I will lay this on there, and then more parchment paper, and I will press it, and the cling wrap will melt and adhere this to the Kraft-Tex. Oh, this is gorgeous. So I want to trim off the excess. I did it on a wool setting, and I just kept going around oops, the iron. Oh, this just tore right there. So I will have to repress this right there, I think. Well, I'm going to put a Mod Podge seal over it, and so that alone might be enough to take care of my little tear here. This is gorgeous. Now, one thing I did think about, and that is that I had an area here where there's no napkin, but there is some of the cling wrap. So I'm not sure how well Mod Podge is going to stick to this. I'm just kind of playing around now, seeing if I can rub that up. Oh, and I actually can. And the main goal was to just enable myself to get this napkin adhered in a good way that was all lined up. So now that I've done that, if I have any lifting up or tearing, I may try the Mod Podge. The paint did pretty well. Let me clean up these edges. Isn't that cute? I'm loving it. So I am going to bring this back out and Mod Podge over the whole thing. You could also use a spray varnish if you like. Okay, I am going to let that dry. and we will come back. All right, so that has been Mod Podged and dried, and I was going to use pieces of the napkin to do the pockets for the inside, but I was going to have to get into a whole new napkin, and in using the pieces I would have destroyed the rooster. I decided to save the napkins so that I can have intact roosters, and so what I did was I cut 1.5-inch strips of cardstock that matched the paint that I have here, and I'm using this 54-40177 Bubbles Punch by EK Success. And so I started writing names in the bottom of my punches so I would know which is which. So what I'm going to do is sew these in, and I'm going to just completely sew all the way around like that. But before I do that, I'm wondering about whether I want to put any trim here. And I've looked in my stash, and I do have this trim. It's a measuring tape that is nice golden color that might look okay across there. I like it. I mean, it's kind of old-fashioned looking measuring tape. So if I do that, I might glue it down a little bit with Fabri-Tac, tack it in place, and then stitch all the way around. And I really like the idea of like 2 different colors maybe across here as well. So, you know, like this. I don't know what I am thinking. However, ooh, I like this a lot. That's what I'm going to do. I am going to affix this with a little bit of Fabri-Tac, and then I'm going to stitch all the way around, including the pockets, and then if I still like it, I will glue this down underneath that. So let's get this. Okay, I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine, and I'll be back. Oh, this is so fun. So that is sewn all the way around. And there's the pockets. Okay. And now the defining moment here. Yes, I do like that a lot. So I'm going to glue this on. Now we have our composition book. We have this cover which can be used all the time. We never have to worry about having to decorate another cover. So put this in here. And you could technically round the corners because this is rounded, but I wouldn't round them very much because these are not very rounded. There we go. Isn't that fun? Now, you could always do more decoration than I have, but I really want this to be flat. I could put a saying or something right over here, but for now, I just really like the way it looks. And I think the napkin really decorated it beautifully. It's gorgeous. Very happy with it. So again, if you want to do the small size, if you have a Staples and you have the small size, or any size really, no matter what size notebook you have, measure this and then cut your Kraft-Tex to be 1/2 inch taller, and then using a flexible measuring tape, come around, measure this and add a 1/2 inch that way, and that shows you how big to make your Kraft-Tex. The pocket size will be the same as this plus 1/2 inch, and then maybe not quite halfway in, but maybe about 1/3 of the way in should be the measurement for your pocket width. Thank you for watching. I love this, and I'm so happy that now I have covers for these, since I really don't like the covers that come with these. Thank you, everyone. Make sure you look at the links down below, and thank you for watching. Consider subscribing to my channel if you love paper crafting and other crafts.